Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm expecting that we will have a few more people who join us this morning, but I promised Melissa she has a hard stop at 8 o'clock, at 8:30, excuse me. And so I want to make sure we have plenty of time to hear from her. So with that, Melissa, I'm going to just turn it over to you. Melissa's been back. She's been to several of our meetings in the past, and we appreciate you being here and to give us a perspective on what's happening with education, with rural education nationally, and what are a lot of the issues that are going on today. So with that, Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Steve, for the invitation, and it's great to see everyone again. I appreciate the time to connect with you and reconnect with many of you. I'll start by just a little bit about who NREA is and why connectivity is one of our issues. NREA is the oldest national education organization in the United States. It was founded in 1907, and we consider ourselves the trusted voice for rural leaders, educators, and communities across all 50 states. As you may be aware, rural schools serve more than 10 million students across nearly half of all public schools, school districts in this country, which is a population that we feel is consistently underserved by policy and technology investment. Connectivity is really not a peripheral issue for rural education. It's a foundational equity issue that really does determine whether rural students can participate in learning and workforce preparation and civic life on equal terms with their urban and suburban counterparts. What makes rural connectivity different from the urban digital divide, of course, and I'm speaking to people from Arizona, so I know that you know this, is not just about devices and affordability. It's really about infrastructure that literally does not exist in some places. And so distances that make physical access to services impossible or community dependence on school buildings as the last connected hub are things that a lot of our educators are dealing with, as well as students and their families. I was just on Capitol Hill with NREA members last week, and I'm tracking, and we are as a legislative team tracking what's happening at the federal level in real time. And I want to share a little bit about what we're seeing and where the pressure points are that we took to Washington with us. The first one, obviously, is around connectivity on the ground. And the 25 leaders from across the country that joined us really did tell, and we've had conversations around broadband access being their most persistent infrastructure challenge. And that's ahead of facilities, it's ahead of staffing in some contexts. It really is an issue that they still are dealing with. A lot of discussion around the homework gap as being a real and ongoing issue. When the ACP expired in May of 24, rural families lost home internet access, and that had been the thing that allowed students to learn at home. And many never got back to that point where they had that connectivity. And so districts have been scrambling ever since with hotspot lending programs that are pretty expensive, and they're just logistically very difficult to sustain. So that was a topic of conversation. School buses was another, because they are a critical and often underappreciated piece of connectivity in that rural ecosystem puzzle. Rural students can spend, anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours on a bus each day, and that's instructional time that could be used if connectivity existed on rural roads and in rural vehicles. Another thing that came up was attendance. So when students miss school in a rural district, making up instruction is often harder because there is no after-school tutoring center down the street or no library with broadband just a few blocks away. So again, the school is often the only connected resource, and when the school day ends, the learning environment disappears for those kids. One of the things that was something that was brought up this last trip to DC that I knew because I've lived it as a rural superintendent, but it was something that was discussed was rural roads as not being just an inconvenience, but they're also a safety issue. So when you have emergency services or school staff and rural families that can't connect on rural remote roads, that's a public safety gap that broadband advocates, I'm sure in this room, understand pretty deeply. And there's some concerns around BEAD funding that I'm going to bring up in just a minute here. And then communities with, I would say, to the communities with the least connectivity are also the communities where the school really does serve as a community anchor, and are typically the more isolated the community, the more important the school building becomes, especially as a connectivity hub, not just for the students, but for their families and seniors and local services. As it relates to BEAD, what NREA has done and a little bit about why. The BEAD program, which you know is the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, and I'm sure you probably know more about this than I do. I'm coming at it from an advocacy perspective for our rural places, and you are obviously more in the weeds than I am. But obviously, it was designed to close that last mile broadband gap for underserved community, which with rural areas as a primary target for that. So the benefit of the bargain process under the Trump administration of 2025, December, renegotiated BEAD contracts and announced that $21 billion in taxpayer savings, meaning that after all deployment commitments were made, there was approximately $520 million in non-deployment funds that remained on the table. And NTIA was deciding how to direct those remaining funds. And that decision point created a real opportunity for rural communities. There was a proposal that T-Mobile approached us with in early March, and they're looking to use a capped portion of BEAD non-deployment funds, and for the cost of about $8 billion to close rural mobile dead zones, not just home broadband gaps. Their core argument was that BEAD's mission was rural connectivity broadly, and that home internet is essential, but it's not a complete picture of what's needed out in rural places. Those mobile dead zones on rural roads that I talked about, or in agricultural areas and along school bus routes, are part of the same connectivity gap that BEAD was designed to address. So their analysis showed that approximately 6,000 additional mobile macro sites could extend 5G coverage to roughly 99% of Americans, including on key rural roads. And that the savings after achieving those defined coverage benchmarks could still return up to upwards of $13 billion to the Treasury. What they also found, and I think this is critically important, is that this approach reduces pressure for a new FCC Universal Service 5G fund, which would protect consumers from higher USF fees. And that's a fiscally responsible argument that had, and I think will have real traction in today's current political environment. So what NREA did was to submit a formal letter of support to the NTIA director, Courtney Dozier, at the beginning of March this year. And we were given acknowledgement of receipt. So not sure where they are in the process, but our letter specifically made three arguments. First, that rural school students depend on mobile connectivity on roads and buses where home broadband just simply doesn't reach. The second is that closing those mobile dead zones is not really a luxury, but it's a safety and equity issue for rural communities at large. And third, that the disciplined capped approach being proposed was a fiscally responsible use of savings that protected taxpayer investment. So we sent that letter simultaneously to the NTIA broadband grants inbox, and then to Courtney directly, just to make sure that we had maximum visibility there. So where it stands, obviously, I know that in Arizona, you're still awaiting NTIA guidelines on how non-deployment funds will be directed. And you had talked about this in your March 26th meeting. and that the outcome of NTIA's decision will directly affect, at least here in Arizona, but I know largely as well, that rural communities and those rural roads that are often dead spots are going to benefit from that mobile infrastructure investment. So it is still an ongoing issue, and NREA's legislative team is continuing to track it and will engage when it's appropriate. The last thing I want to talk about is when we actually went to Washington, D.C., it was our NREA Capitol Hill Day. And we were there March 23rd through 25th with member leaders from across the country, like I said. That included rural superintendents, school board members, some of our state affiliate directors, and we met directly with congressional offices on FY27 priorities for budgeting and programming. There were some one-pagers that we had created, and I want to hit 4 of the most relevant to this particular group, starting with E-rate, which obviously is the backbone for school connectivity. For us, it's the single most important federal program for school broadband because it does make it affordable those high-speed internet access opportunities, and rural districts really do depend on that to stay connected. Our ask was to maintain and strengthen E-rate funding in FY27 and to resist any proposals to cut or restructure it because rural schools they can't absorb a reduction in that programming. E-rate is also a vehicle, as you know, for emerging technology integration, so AI-powered instructional tools or digital curriculum, remote specialist services for special education, for a lot of those related service providers. None of that works without the broadband E-rate funds. And something for this group in particular to know, obviously the E-rate deadline was April 1st. And I think it was Mala from your March 26th meeting flagged that there's some ongoing legal challenges to the Universal Service Fund Authority. And obviously, we're watching that because that puts E-rate funds at risk for everybody. The Affordable Connectivity Program, or the Homework Gap, like I said, the ACP expired in May of 24, and Congress hasn't acted to restore it. And so now you have millions of low-income rural families that are still without that home internet. Our ask was to restore and provide long-term funding for the ACP because it is the most direct intervention available to keep students connected and learning beyond the end of the school day. It wasn't just a convenience, it really was a pathway to ensure that there was some connectivity to the home. Obviously, the current federal environment makes that restoration uncertain, but NREA we named it explicitly on the Hill and plan to keep it an ongoing conversation as we move forward with our advocacy efforts. Cybersecurity was also something that we talked about because it's a threat that rural schools just can't afford if they're hit with a cybersecurity event. And we, as public schools everywhere, not just in rural communities, are targeted by ransomware and really some sophisticated cyber attacks. But rural schools are especially vulnerable because they lack typically internal IT capacity and expertise. They don't have an IT director or a staff on hand to deal with those things as they occur. When the FCC launched the 3-year cybersecurity pilot program, we did previously urge Congress to support it, to ensure that there's some rigorous evaluation attached to it, and to use those findings to modernize and expand the E-rate cybersecurity investments that are in play. And something that's, I know, directly relevant to you is that, a rural district that loses its network to a ransomware attack, and as a superintendent, before I retired, I had this happen. Pinal County had a ransomware issue with the entire payroll system. We lost connectivity to our infrastructure. It impacted our student data. It impacted payroll systems and our budgeting systems. And it truly was a lack of an ability to function for a long period of time. And on a small rural community, that is really a devastating event to have happen. So we're hyper aware that that's something we want to have on the radars of people that are making decisions around that kind of funding. The pilot is generating evidence that we really do need, and we are making the case for scalable, evidence-driven cybersecurity investment in rural schools, I think is the bottom line. IES data, which is the foundation for all of what we're talking about, one of NREA's most important asks, I think, was that and it doesn't get enough attention. We urge Congress to direct the Institute of Education Sciences to produce current disaggregated rural education data. IES has not produced a dedicated rural education report in years, and that means that the evidence base for rural-specific policy decisions, including technology and broadband investment in schools, is outdated. And you can't design a program for a population that you don't have current data on. And rural schools have consistently been undercounted and underanalyzed in federal education research. So this is something that is very top of mind. It's not just technology concerns. It is also about some of our other funding streams like REAP, the Rural Education Achievement Program, which is the only federal grant program directed specifically to rural schools. So in closing, I would say that, we obviously are with you working on the same problems, I think, from just different angles of it. You're on the infrastructure and access side, and we're on the community education and community impact side of things. And it's heartening to know that we are working for the same students and families. And I think that there's power in that, knowing that we are moving together to ensure that students and their families, as well as their schools, have what they need to do the job of teaching and learning every day in their buildings. So with that, I will stop and see if there might be any questions. And again, Steve, thank you for the opportunity to just give you a brief update. I appreciate that.
Well, that was awesome, Melissa. Really give us in 15 minutes or less a really great overview. And I'm sure there's people who have questions. So I'm going to just open it up to people to ask any questions or comments.
Melissa, this is Mala from the State Library. I'm the State E-Rate Coordinator for Public Libraries.
Hi, Mala.
Hi. Yes, you were right. The deadline for E-Rate application was yesterday. And Arizona, has been going down, not in the amount of money they apply for, mainly because we worked very hard to bring the prices down per gig for the anchor institutions by setting up master contracts that schools and libraries could buy off of. And they could also buy, because the anchor institutions are all over the state, drawing from that point of presence to the residences become a lot easier when BEAD work starts happening. So you are so right about stressing the importance of E-rate and making sure that it does not go away under the current administration. It just seems like everything is a threat. Anything that seems to be doing bridging the digital gap is under threat.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the fact that you are fighting for it. The only way we can do this is continue to put the pressure on Congress to make sure that this is not going to go away. They can rationalize it. I'm not saying it's the best it can be. They've got to work better on contributions to the USF, but it's not as some of the organizations that are fighting this case are calling it illegal. It's not a tax. it's benefiting schools and libraries and indirectly the community as well.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, Mala. I agree with you. And one of the things that the visits that we just did last week allowed us to do was to show through storytelling, this is how these things are impacting rural schools across the country. And you know, the data by itself is dismissible, and the story can be unforgettable when it's by itself. But when you put those two things together, it truly does tend to move hearts and minds, and especially when it's constituents in their own districts at home that are telling those stories, it does seem to make a difference. So we will continue to do the work of ensuring that they understand how decisions that they're making have consequences, good or bad, in their home districts. So I appreciate the acknowledgement of that.
Kelly, you have a question or comment?
Yes, good morning. Hi, Melissa. My name is Kelly Mukherjee from ASU's Enterprise Technology. I support our CIO, Lev Gonick, in our broadband and digital inclusion work through a program called AZBSN. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we have interactive, free public maps with different data layers of information. And I'm wondering if this could help your rural schools, at least in Arizona, to justify. So we not only have the data visualizations, but we also have storytelling. So if you have any stories, compelling stories in Arizona, we would love to tap into those and get them on our map. It is a web portal, so I would love to connect with you maybe after this meeting, if you don't mind. It seems like NREA is doing great things, and we would love to add your resources to our public-facing website.
That sounds great, Kelly. I just dropped my email into the chat. And one of the things that I'd like to do is connect you to Greg Wyman, who is the current executive director of the Arizona Rural Schools Association. They are the NREA affiliate in the state. And I know that he will be interested in that information as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Jessica, go ahead.
Yes, hi, y'all. Jessica from Digital Lift. Something that we've had, and that some of our other colleagues have had some quote unquote success with, and when there's individuals that, or groups or representatives that don't have as much investment, shall we say, in schools and other things that we know are really important, that care about, where we've tried to have some pivot in the conversation is around the school being, the future workforce pipeline, but then also with the broadband expansion and all of those things, trying to pivot that into conversation around, well, then that's infrastructure for bringing in businesses, or then it makes having businesses or small businesses more expensive for people, and where we know that sometimes the things that representatives should often take into consideration and care about is not always something that in reality they do, where on the opposite ends, then the almighty dollar tends to make an impact. We've had some better pivots in being able to have conversations around that point and then fueling in with the other. So just for anybody else's benefit, I'm sure that y'all have probably had pivots in conversation like that as well, but that has worked for us in the past.
Appreciate that, Jessica, and you're spot on, truly. That's been successful for us as well.
Other questions or comments for Melissa? So Melissa, I got a couple of things. One is that one of the things we know for rural schools as well as even smaller school districts is the challenge of, even if E-rate money is available, that they don't have anybody to actually write the grants, manage those grants, and so forth. So they can't go after the money, even if it was there. Have you seen that? Is that kind of still happening? I mean, I sometimes I think that the IT director is also the football coach and English teacher and so
You're
forth.
right. The short answer is yes. that is certainly something that we are seeing as a concern. It might not be the IT director that's managing your federal and state grant programs. You might have another individual that's doing that and doesn't have the technology background, so that can be a barrier as well. And what I've seen happen as a result of that is coalitions being formed or consortiums that are hiring a grant writer to manage those kinds of not only the application, but then also all of the other paperwork that's required, as well as doing the draws. So, it's a business on top of it. There are people that will do that for you. You can hire a consultant. That's what my district ended up doing, because it is such a big lift. Just that one grant is such a big lift. There's so many moving parts to it. So yes, and trying to be creative and at the same time be fiscally conservative about how you're approaching access to those funds.
And so, Melissa, the other thing is that if you're not aware of the cybersecurity initiative here in Arizona, that the Homeland Security and the State Department of Education have had a partnership to work with and provide actually free cybersecurity support to local school districts. And so it might be something for you to look into, and it might be a model for other states.
Agreed. If you have a point of contact, I will reach out.
I do.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, Ryan Murray is with Homeland Security. He's the guy that kind of runs that show, but I can send you his information.
That'd be great. And then Greg and I can approach him together so that there's that Arizona connection as well. Yeah, thank you for that.
You bet. Okay, any other questions or comments from Melissa? She's got a hard stop at 8:30, so now
I've got a podcast.
It's now or never. Carmen, did you have a comment or something?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was talking to my team. I have my team in the background with me.
Okay, no problem. Okie doke. Well, Melissa, thank you. I thought that was a great presentation, great summary in such a short period of time. So appreciate you being here again and joining us.
Yep. Thank you for the invitation, and I look forward to the next time that we're able to connect. Please feel free to reach out to me if there's anything else that you'd like to continue conversation on. So thank you, Steve.
Sounds great. Thanks, Melissa. Bye now.
Awesome. Take care.
So while we're talking about challenges and funding, Sam, I'm going to put you on. Yes, there you are. Sam, I'm going to put you on the spot and just quickly give us an update on your All Fund committee, and that you're going to be releasing some reports in the near future. Sam, are you there? Okay, well, we'll come back to her, hopefully. So in the meantime, so one of the things we usually try and do is to introduce new people at the beginning of the meeting, but just because it was important to hear from Melissa first, I put her on first. So we'll start. Susan, do you want to introduce yourself? I know we chatted a little bit before the meeting.
Yeah. Susan Franny Bascom. I'm the market development individual for MMR Fiber Solutions. We're building a new dark fiber network. Our first meet point is going to be in the tech corridor at NTT. I'm visually looking at the map, and I'll kind of give you an idea where we'll be in Arizona. So from NTT, we're going to go up to Tucson, likely be at ARC in Tucson, ARC Data Center. From there, we'll go south down very close to the border. So we're going to hit some pretty good rural areas on the way down there. Then we'll be going back east a little bit, kind of circle El Paso, Texas, and then up to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not sure where we're going to meet there. And then we'll be going east again to Clovis, back to the Texas border. So we're going to be dark fiber. We're not going to sell lit services, at least not for the first several years until the network is completely done. There is a We're looking at different options for actually going from Albuquerque, I-40 to Flagstaff, and that would really kind of complete a loop for us. The first phase, Mesa Tucson, is should be done first quarter 27. I feel more confident about that now that we actually got the fiber ordered. It's quite a lag time there. Along the way, obviously, we're going to have like regen places. We're hoping, actually, we have the plan in place to sort of make them those edge data centers, like edge computing, or all of that really cool AI stuff that you need in real time in order to reduce the latency and actually make it real time. Those will be we're going to be going through Florence. That'll be one of them. Marana. I'm not sure where the other couple will be yet. Those are still kind of being finalized. So we're at the very front, very pre-sales. There's so many different things that we can do and help out. When I was listening to about the rural, I have had some very preliminary conversations with some localized, regionalized ISPs that are looking at expanding into other areas. So that kind of caught my eye because they're going to need, a way to get there and to the other. And since they're ISPs, there's no problem with figuring out how to light dark fiber for when they need it. So just ask me some questions that kind of taps me out. If you want anything more technical or deep, I've got a good team behind me. Obviously, I've got the construction manager. I live with somebody who knows a whole lot more and is actually helping construct this network. And I can get some maps and that type of thing to you if you're interested in seeing where we're at.
So Susan,
Where we're
just
going to
one
be.
quick thing, and then we need to move on.
Okay.
Is that you commented earlier that you guys are self-funded?
Yes. Yeah. We are fully funded, which I found out like immediately. The first few nanoseconds of starting to talk about this is a very big deal. We don't have to go out for capital. We're fully internally funded with our parent company, MMR Group. We are have the opportunity, since we're just starting, to be fully diverse as much as absolutely possible. I can't say we're not going to be like maybe diverse adjacent, but we are going to be trenching our own trench and laying our own pipe, and we will not be sharing any of that. And we're going to have a whole bunch of fiber. So we are able to serve hyperscalers, data centers, large carriers who take a look at needing almost zero latency on their network. So
Great. Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it.
you bet.
So Sam, there you are. So Sam is not new to us, but she has a very important project that she's working on that's of interest to all of us. And we'll give you more details in a couple of minutes. Melanie, I'm going to put you on the spot to talk about next week's event after Sam, because it's a great segue. But so Sam's going to be joining us next week. I think you probably all know that we're doing a joint event with Aiden next week, and Sam is going to be a very quick presenter. But the projects that she's working on is very, very important for all of us. So Sam, it's all yours.
Well, I'll be brief. So I think many of you have already heard me talk about the alt funding group and our related project. We have progressed here, and all of the chapters are done. They've been available for public comment for the last couple of weeks. So for those of you who are on our listserv or a member of our group, you've been able to take an early preview and give some feedback. Those are in polishing this week and are en route to our senior editors, who will be Karen Mossberger and Blair Levin, in probably by the end of next week. So hopefully we're going to be looking at publication by the end of the month. We'll see. At least the first few will probably come out. So those are going to be coming out quick. Now, for those of you who don't know what they are, the alt funding we're a group basically looking for how do communities and nonprofit organizations look at ways to financially support digital access, adoption, skill training for digital skills, digital literacy, um, outside of federal and foundation grants, right? So, what are the entrepreneurial opportunities? What are the cross-sector pathways? What are ways that we can capture the value, the fiscal value created through the work of digital skilling? And so that's what will be covered in exhaustion. We have 6 chapters. Let me see if I can rattle them off. We have housing, healthcare, education, telecommunications, local government, and what is my last one that I'm missing? Um, Housing, healthcare, education, local government. Oh, and workforce development. I'm sorry. Of course, the one I wrote. I'm forgetting. Um, so those are those 6 chapters. They're really exhaustive. They give very, actionable operational concepts of like, here are programs, these are areas that you can explore. Here's how to open conversations. These are where the value centers align between digital skill organizations and cross-sector partners. It really lays out how you can go about partnering across these sectors. So we try to be very exhaustive, and because of that, they're going to be long. Most of our chapters are 15 to 25 pages long. So it's been quite an undertaking, considering it's something that we just launched right before the holidays. So it's been rapid production here. That said, yeah, we're looking forward to your feedback. And if anyone has experience that has done work across a sector that has a co-investment partnership, I want to hear from you. We'll slot you in as a model. We'd like to elevate and bring attention to those things so people can learn from your innovation. So if you say, hey, that sounds a lot like something I'm already doing, please, reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to make sure that we bring some light to your work and maybe even invite you to come to the alt funding group and talk to our about 150 members at this point.
That's pretty awesome, Sam, what you're doing. And I mean, obviously, everybody here understands that the challenge of being able to
Yeah,
uh, provide the funding we need and going on into the future is really critical. And what's most important, which you of course talk about, is being alternative funding. We can't depend on government, even if we get some funding from non-deployment funds. It's not going to be the
forever.
long-term solution for us, or even the short-term solution for that matter.
Yeah.
So, so I really appreciate that all the work you're doing on that, Sam. It's so important.
Thanks,
And
Steve.
we appreciate you being here this morning too.
My pleasure.
Okay. And so again, and I'm going to ask Melanie in just a minute to give us a little quick update on what's happening next week. But I do have a couple of other new people that I want to introduce first before we jump into that. Paloma, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Um, I am an intern with the Office of Digital Inclusion. I work with Michelle Simon. I'm an American Connection Corps member, and I've been attending the meetings pretty regularly, so I don't consider
Yeah.
myself new, but nice to see everybody. Sorry, my camera's off today. Thank you, Michelle. Um, and right now with the office, we're working on a digital navigator internship program that we hope to get started at the end of this month. We're going to start with 2. Hopefully, we were able to maintain those 2 interns. So a lot of what my work has been centered on so far has been pulling a curriculum together for them to use to get trained to be digital navigators, but also gain enough training that they can go forth and spread that training around and train other people to be digital navigators. So it's all about building capacity. And we're also looking to host a digital navigator training for community service providers too. So we're going to try to condense that curriculum I'm working on for the interns into a one full day training exercise activity. So more to come on that soon. And yeah, that's it.
Great, thanks, Paloma. So somebody else who was on the call today, who is not new to us, but haven't seen in a while, is Ash. Ash Black, you there? Can you just say hello? And just I know you weren't ready to do a big presentation today, but just a quickie, what you're doing. Ash is working on one of the issues that comes up all the time. You've probably heard of it, called AI. So with that, Ash, with that intro, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you or see you again. My name is Ash Black. I'm with the University of Arizona's College of Information Science. I am the director of AI, extended reality, and student success there. My main work, actually, the last semester or so has been a really interesting commercialization endeavor coming out of the Biosphere 2 up in Oracle through the university. And what this is it's a high fidelity digital twinning of the Biosphere 2 facility and the application of sensing and thinking, learning AI systems into that environment. Our focus is really on towards establishing an agricultural technology, earth sciences, narrow superintelligence, meaning that if you really read the landscape of what's happening in AI closely, as I'm sure many of you do, we realize that we're in a very transformative time in which new opportunities and probably a narrower set of players are setting themselves up for dominance economically. And we believe that our strategy gives the university and the biosphere a lane to play in, which is that we want to seize the opportunity for creating what we would call a narrow superintelligence around agriculture and earth sciences. And what I mean by that is that not that we have massive amounts of compute to burn through. In fact, we actually kind of have a charter to use compute as judiciously as possible because we don't want to be the people that are burning a lot of electricity and causing that problem. We want to help solve that problem. So our strategy is going into edge computing, small models, distillation, and the most interesting aspect of it is what we call the ecology of intelligences, which is a network of AI, smaller AI models that have domain specialization and communication protocol for talking to each other, getting some really super cool results out of that. And to kind of wrap it all up, Steve, it's led us into the space that you probably are hearing a lot about right now, which is autonomous scientific discovery or autonomous research. And that's a thing. And we feel like we kind of got lucky and got a toehold in that space too. So autonomous research and agricultural technology, earth sciences, and it's basically an AI strategy that we hope will be really sustainable and fruitful for the university.
So Ash, if I can, I know you mentioned that you're going to be working with the folks in Yuma, and
We're talking, yeah.
one of the people that he's working with down in Yuma and their agricultural project is actually also going to do a quickie presentation next week at our gathering. So, and we've heard from him before also, but they're doing amazing stuff. The other thing, Ash, if you can just take just a couple of minutes, the biosphere, people may not even know what the biosphere is, and it's also had an interesting history from starting out with the U of A to private. I actually had a chance to meet the original biospherians a number of years ago. But just, I know it's a long history. We don't have to go into a lot of detail, but it might be interesting.
Well, the Biosphere 2 is a remarkable facility up in Oracle. It's the large underglass greenhouse that has an ocean and a desert biome and a rainforest biome and an agricultural area that was built in the late 1980s. The dream back then was to enclose humans in a closed loop environment and prove that we can live off-world, in a visionary effort to both take the next step into space, but also to become like remarkable stewards of the Earth, right? Like to learn everything we can about Earth sciences. And it's presently a research facility and tourist facility. I think we still get like 225,000 visitors a year. It really pulls on the heartstrings of people who really appreciate science, because it's kind of it's quite an experience if you haven't been up there before. It's part research facility, part temple to science and to the Earth. The That's the facility, and the mission, really has galvanized the AI strategy, because we do really recognize. I think probably everybody on the call feels it in some degree, that the AI technology is, for better or for worse, it's extraordinarily disruptive and forcing a new kind of posture for our industrial society. It's changing the rules. And we see the original mission of the Biosphere, which is, hey, we can live to learn in space and we can take care of the Earth, as a great mission to continue into the AI age. So the difference is that instead of locking ourselves inside and having it go the way it did, we're suiting it up with artificial intelligence itself and allowing AI to become part of the simulation and scientific exploration and discovery process.
Thanks, Ash. Appreciate it. And as you know, I'm going to keep working on you to come and do a full presentation.
Yeah, I'd be
on the
happy
work you're
to.
doing.
I wanted to get a toe back in the water, because it's been a while. I'm particularly interested in the digital twinning capabilities that the broadband network makes possible in Arizona, because that's an extraordinary convergence with AI. Digital twinning is basically the spatial understanding for artificial intelligence. It's the key for AI being able to understand the world that we also share, so that it's not just streams of data, but it's spatially contextualized.
Can you, in 30 seconds, explain what digital twinning is?
It's both the very high fidelity reconstruction of 3D models. So imagine like a really cool VR experience, except that instead of it being just for gaming, it's actually for the AI to also play the game and go, oh, now I understand where everything is physically. But it's more than that too. It's also like, very well built databases with meta information in them that can pull up particular parts. It's real-time sensing. So like if something is growing in Yuma, we want to have the sensors in real time feeding the model. So that's why we call it a twin, because it's like a living, it's not breathing because it's a machine. It's a living humming analog to what's actually happening out in the real world. So it's no longer a model in the sense of like, it's not theoretical. It's more like a one-to-one mapping of what's really going on out in the real world.
Great. Thanks, Ash.
Mhm.
Good to see you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thanks, Steve.
joining us. And again, I'll keep bugging you about scheduling a full
Okay.
presentation for you.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay. I don't think we have anybody else new today. Melanie, can you give us a quickie, what's happening next week?
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you very much. My name is Melanie Escher, and I'm with the Arizona Telemedicine Program based here at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And as Ash and Steve mentioned, yes, next Tuesday, Connor Osgood, who's with U of A out in Yuma, will be doing a quickie little presentation. We are having our Aiden Super meeting, and we're partnering with the Digital Access Task Force, and Steve's been a part of that process. We've got 3 in-person locations. Aaron Kelly, if you wouldn't mind putting the registration in the chat for me, I'd really appreciate it as I'm talking here. In Tucson, we're going to be at the Abrams Public Health Center, which is down off of Ajo. In the Phoenix area, we've got a sponsor with G Fiber Cox, which is in Mesa. And then down in Cochise County, Janet Major, who of course was one of my colleagues and is retired from ATP, but she's still active in digital inclusion space. She's going to be down in Sierra Vista. So unique problem is our numbers have already doubled what we had last year. So I'm in the process of changing rooms in Tucson to a bigger room. Instead of the 3rd floor, we're going to be down on the 1st floor. I'll have signs at the building. It's going to be a lot easier to find than going up to the 3rd floor. Anyways, so we're super excited. Part of the agenda, we've got a little networking lunch and icebreaker to start with. It starts at check-in about 11:45. Cindy Hogan, who is our director with the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network, and Steve are going to do a little bit of welcome. We We've got speakers. We've got some lightning rounds. Molly's going to be on the lightning round as well. We've got some breakouts that we're going to be finalizing because of our numbers. It's like, well, let's wait until we get our registration numbers, see what we're going to do. We're going to have some breakouts. The whole point of the super meeting is talking about digital access as a foundation for healthy communities. So it's there's no cost to join us. We also have a virtual piece if you can't come to either one of those three locations in person. Um, and I am leaning on Janet to help with. I learned from her from Arizona Telemedicine Program on all the technology pieces. So I'm a glorified cat herder in the background. So, but I'll be in Tucson as well. So I really appreciate the folks that have stepped up to help. Moderate and do things in the Tucson area, even though I'm going to be there because I'm going to be on the computer managing all of the technology pieces in the background. Anyways, it's super exciting. I'm glad to be able to work with Steve and Kelly and Aaron. I mean, the whole group that I've been involved with the board. It's really exciting. So thank you, Aaron, for putting that. The registration is in the chat right now. Please go ahead and share it. We're super excited. Um, yeah, and then another thing I want to quickly mention, Steve, is on Thursday, there's what, 7 or 8 of us that are going to be presenting for the Arizona Library Association. Um, um, it's their educational series, if I remember correctly. Let me see here. It is actually called
It's
their
a professional development.
professional development. Thank you. So we're doing a little presentation. We're doing a little speed rounds, about 7, 8 of us. It's called Howdy Partner. Arizona Digital Inclusion Network members partner to share strengths, maximize impact for their monthly webinar series. So all of us that are doing that, I've got about 5 slides, and we're talking about what we do for that in that space. So that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Besides just a whole bunch of stuff, we've got for the Arizona Telemedicine Program is our state side. Our federal side is the Southwest Telehealth Resource Center. We actually represent Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and the Four Corners region. And I'll be up in Colorado Springs for a conference based in Colorado. It's going to be super exciting. We've actually got the Lieutenant Governor of Colorado, Lieutenant Governor Primavera, who's going to be doing our opening remarks. And we've got all sorts of talks about, it's called the Connected Care Summit, Bridging Distance. So again, we're talking about rural connection in the health space and what Colorado's doing about it. So super excited about that. It's just going to be a really busy month for me. Thanks, Steve.
It always is, isn't it,
Yes,
Melanie?
it is. It's never slowed down since the pandemic. I'm sorry, but ever since the pandemic, we just got busier. So
Well, thank you, Melanie. Appreciate that update. Kelly, you have anything that you want?
I think
You
Melanie,
always want to talk.
yeah, Melanie did a beautiful job, and thanks to Aaron's support of getting all the links out, the information's out there. So we welcome you all to join us in any of the 3 or 4 locations, counting virtual as the 4th.
And there will be lunch, and I believe those are real-time lunch, not virtual lunches. So anyway, we hope to see you all next week. Any other updates, announcements, anything that people want to share before we end for today?
How about really quick, Steve?
Yeah, Kelly.
As one funding is coming to an end, June 2026. So that's just months away. We are trying to find additional funding, but we haven't locked anything in yet. So in the meantime, our storytellers are also graduating May 11th. So we do only have weeks left of storytelling. We've been delivering stories for years now, and we would love to get any other last minute Arizona stories, community impact stories you have left. Our students are ready to do that last push. So please feel free to reach out to me if you do have any other community impact stories you'd like to get on as one.
Thank you, Kelly. So just one last thing. You may recall at the beginning of the year, I was talking about retiring, and I am going to be semi-retired, but I have decided that I just can't give up doing these meetings. So my plan is, right now, our plan is that we're going to be in Portland for about 3 months, starting June, July, and August. And I'm probably going to go to every other week rather than every week. Maybe not doing so much with newsletter and stuff, and pretty much depending on AI to do all the summary work for me so that I don't spend a whole lot of time or I will be disowned. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I do want to at least keep the momentum going, and then we'll see where we are after that. So anyway, that's my current plan, and you'll hear more as I kind of nail things down here. And so with that, any
Well,
other comments, any other thoughts anybody has?
no, congratulations on that decision. It's never
Nice.
an easy one to make.
Yeah. Okay, well, if not, we're done again. Sam, thank you for being here. I love the great work you're doing. I don't make your meetings very often, but it's just awesome work you're doing, and I do need to review all of the documents. So anyway, that's that. So we're all done.